starting with our friend Damian Lillard, who finally issued a trade request, but unfortunately it seems like the remnants of that situation are going to play out pretty slowly over the next couple of weeks. Here's my question to you, Waz. This ends with Dame in Miami, right? Because you're seeing a lot of obfuscation happening at the moment. Oh, could Philly jump in? Could Brooklyn jump in? They might not send him to where he wants to go, but he only wants to go to Miami. But it seems like a lot of to do to ultimately get to him in with the Heat, no?
Yeah, I think that's it. It's going to be the Heat. At first, we were hearing this Brooklyn stuff, Brooklyn noise, and now what are we hearing about Brooklyn? They're going to be part of the facilitation of the trade rather than a Dame destination. Same thing with the Spurs, where it was like, oh, Dame might want to play with Victor Wembanyama for some reason, even though he just left a rebuild.
Loves
and
pop.
A small market and like ridiculous. He might, and then now you're hearing, no, they might be one of the suitors that helps facilitate it because they would actually like to get a guy like Tyler Hero in their building, right? As these teams slowly but surely fall by the wayside as far as Dame suitors, the inevitable becomes true. And I think it's just on Portland to figure out, all right, how do we get as much as we can from this? And I think people at home, because these days, obviously, I'm not as on Twitter as I used to be. And I do
You're
watch
a Blue Sky guy now.
Exactly. I watch, some of the ESPN stuff, and I get the chatter that's going on in different corners. And you're hearing this stuff about, oh, Portland, they're not just gonna lay down or blah blah blah. Take it from me, guys. That's just face-saving nonsense on the Portland side. They're going to make the deal with Miami. And the reason why they have to is because as much as people want to say, oh, Dame has all these years left on his deal, you cannot facilitate a trade for a guy who's owed that much money if you don't have buy-in. It's stupid to do so, to just be like, we'll just bring him in here anyway. And if he doesn't like it, then who gives a shit? We got his rights. It doesn't make you're missing out on the whole point of having this caliber of player on your team if there is no buy-in on his part. And so once Dame's and his representatives put it out there that it's like, look, Miami is the place, then Miami is going to be the place. And we can get into all the stuff that led us to this point, because I think there's another sort of narrative that you're hearing out there where it's just like, why does Portland just have to trade them? No, they don't have to do anything realistically. But if you're doing this rebuild, then what's the point of keeping him? He's going to make you way better than you clearly want to be right now. Because if you wanted to be better than you are right now, you would have gotten rid of those chips, those younger pieces to get better right now. Because let's face it, proven veterans, all NBA kind of players are what it would have taken to get this thing to the next level. They've shown that they don't really have an interest in that. Yeah. And so you should get rid of Dame. But, again, we can get into all of that.
Yeah, no, I think the interesting thing that's kind of rippling from this is you have a camp suggesting that Portland should send Dame to Miami because of his loyalty over the past couple of years. That is the right thing to do. And now you could look at it from a cold hard business perspective and say like, well, if you don't bring him to where he wants to, will affect you down the line with future free agents. I would say that Portland isn't really a destination anyway, so that shouldn't be an issue. But then you have the whole like, well, he's been a good soldier. There's been a lot of love on both ends, yada yada, which I'll be honest, I don't buy at all. And if anything, Dame had his choice already and he signed an extension literally a year ago for gobs of money. This isn't like his second contract or his third contract. He has now signed 3 different extensions for contracts with his team. I feel like the Blazers are within their right to do whatever they want with him at this point.
Okay, so let's just take that very management-friendly view of the situation. What people need to realize is that if Dame didn't sign that extension, he'd be eligible to be a free agent next summer.
Yep.
i.e. he would have maximum leverage over the Trailblazers as to where they should send him. And guess what? Any team that he would have been traded to automatically would have signed him to that extension. Nobody's trading for him and being like, we're going to be lame duck with Dame Lillard, the superstar we just brought in. The reason why he signed said extension is because the new regime, and we could get into the myriad of fuck-ups from the O'Shea regime that came in before, he stunk up the joint. He stunk up the joint. We can get into that. But the bottom line is,
I would say, but no, go ahead.
The bottom line is Dame signed that extension after they said privately and publicly they were going to try to build a contender around Dame. And then they've gone out and done what, Justin? The exact opposite. And I don't think they're even wrong for taking that tack. I think they wanted to sort of do the Dame thing and try to get some real players in there. But the way things started working, they luck into this number 3 pick after, Dame mysteriously sat at the end of the season.
Right.
I wonder why that was.
Well, see, this is my point, though. Like, it almost seems like it's incumbent on him to see the writing on the wall and not just take management's word for it that they're going to just like all of a sudden figure out this magical contender around him when they haven't in years past. And if you looked at the situation going into last season, and especially at the trade deadline, like what are the pathways to this? Dame's not a dumb guy. He could see the writing on the wall. And so can't he see that there isn't a clear route to figuring this like magical contender that he's been on or like searching for so long?
But you got to think to yourself, Justin, at the same time, like this is a new regime. If you want to make it work in Portland and they're telling you, again, it's a clean slate. It's not the O'Shea regime. That guy got fired for a reason, right? So the new guys come in and you want to give Cronin the benefit of the doubt that it's going to happen and it just hasn't. And again, here's another thing that people need to understand. Of course, the Cronin in them understand why they wanted to do this sort of thread the needle 2-track thing with Dame because he makes their freaking team a viable business. It's a premium product in that city because Dame is there. These are real hard dollars we're talking about, dollars and cents that Dame is earning for the freaking franchise. When people try to say, oh, he signed for all this quote unquote gobs of money. Hello, he's earned it for the franchise. Like, yeah. Again, we could talk about, again, the CBA dictates that the players, which in a given year is about 360, 400 guys in the league, share 51% of the revenue. And then you have guys like, say, I don't know, James Dolan inherited the team. And he's sharing that pie with who? That 49%, right? So when people try to act like he's trying to have his cake and eat it too. No, he's getting his just due for what he's done for the team. Like they sell out every single damn game because it is due. And that's why they didn't want to move him immediately because they're not a viable product as far as selling the stuff to fans and season tickets and all those kinds of things. And that stuff matters. And so I'm not saying Portland has been a bad actor in this. I think they probably thought, maybe we'll see where it goes and we could probably swing this thing. And then it just didn't happen that way, and now these guys are parting ways.